few days later, took some time off for my birthday, went to Disneyland on my birthday. That was fun. But I wanted to show you what we got done the other day. Joel actually came over and brought his son Ricky, so we had some extra hands. So it really did make quick work. So now in front of the house, we have a nice, smooth, level gravel path instead of that horrible thing we had before. We ended up with a little bit too much gravel here at the end of the house. So this path here comes and meets up with the path that goes down that way and along the front of the house. But this path is going to go straight up into the formal English garden area. And so what we have to do is take out about a 6-foot width section of this wall. That's nothing new. I knew that when I actually put this wall here like this, but it's just easier to keep it level by just building the wall, and then they're very easy to unstack. And the only hard part is kind of playing around with the ending so that it's straight up and down. So as you can see, the gravel, I wanted a ramp here going up, but I don't want it to, I want it to start well past, or at least just past, the opening in the wall. And right now it's probably 2 feet in. So I'm just gonna rig some of that gravel back. I think it's deep enough where that's all we have to really do. I am actually considering, because we've got room to expand down at the bottom of the vegetable garden, I am thinking of taking these beds out up here that I have the tomato trellis on and just having a gravel path the full width of this with pots. I may leave these here. I can't leave those there and have a 6-foot wide path if I leave these here. So I'm thinking we could leave those there, maybe have like a bistro set in the middle, some potted plants, but we would still have a 6-foot wide path here if I got rid of these and moved them down to the bottom. So that's just in the thought right now. I haven't made any plans on that. Oh, I gotta show you something that you're not gonna believe. I planted these grapes in February, I think. Typically you're gonna wait about 2 to 3 years before you get grapes. Well, I am such a good gardener that in the first year, I got grapes. You wanna see them? Ta-da! I'm patting myself on the back for that. Now, we still have a lot to do in this future rosemary bed. This is a lot more work than I anticipated. And it's leaving me with a lot less dirt to plant in. When we take this out, like I said, it's 6 to 8 inches deep, the gravel and decomposed granite that's on top. The problem is, I can't have a bed. In the tropical garden, it was fine. They don't mind standing in water. You know, in a heavy winter rain, they'd be fine. Not so for lavender and rosemary. And so to have them in a 6-inch deep bed, even with good drainage, it could be a problem. So I think what I'm gonna do, because they love, like I said, good drainage and they don't mind growing in gravelly soil, I think I'm going to just take a little bit more out of here and then bring down some compost, which you don't really want to do with Mediterranean herbs, Mediterranean plants. You don't want a lot of nutrients, but I don't really have a choice because I don't have a way to get tractors full of dirt, fill dirt right here. So I think I'm gonna bring some mulch, and I think I'm gonna just basically take the gravel that's left here that has not been dug out yet, which is a lot of it, and just move it around and dig it into the fill dirt that's under here so that we can bring that level up. And then I still might even need to put some drains that go out the back of the bed and out over back into this area. So I thought this was going to be done in a couple of days. We'd have the rosemary planted, and it's not happening. So I took over 100 cuttings of rosemary on the last video. And so those will be done or ready to plant in a few weeks. Problem is, the last rosemary cuttings I took They desperately need to be taken out of these little containers. I would assume they are root bound. No, not too bad. But it's hard to keep them on these hot days. It's hard to keep them well watered in these little things. So waiting even longer to plant those, I don't want to have to do that. So the next big project you're going to see probably next week is going to be working up here in the cottage garden, taking all the weeds out of the path right here along the front of the cottage. It's a lot of weeds. All of this here. I'm probably going to take this fence section down here. This was originally, when I first thought of this area, this whole fenced area right here, that I have the apples growing on this fence and then all this up here, that was going to be our vegetable patch, our cottage garden vegetable patch. And I had these fences here. I was going to put wire on them to keep the rabbits out. Well, this is no longer going to be vegetables up here. And since we got all the cats, we haven't had any problems with rabbits. So this whole area is going to be weeded and leveled out. And then we're going to put weed cloth down and put wood chips for when we had the eucalyptus trees cut down. So that should make this really nice. Why I'm telling you this is part of that project is going to be, and now I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? Because we've got mums there and mums there that are just really just starting to bloom. So we're going to put a little, once we have this leveled out, put some binder board about a foot out from the wall here, or the lack of wall, and go ahead and plant the rosemary here in the small hedge right around the base of the entire cottage. Now I might just leave that spot and that spot over there, and we will go ahead and plant rosemary there once those die, and I'll just fill in. But I really don't want to have those cuttings that I took months ago to just get ruined, and so I need to get them in the ground. What I want to do right now, and I'm running out of light, so it may have to be done now and in the morning, is get some fall flower seeds started. Now these are seeds that are either going to bloom through the winter here, or they're going to bloom in spring. So I've already made my seed starting mix. I make my own, and I make my own because it's just way cheaper to do that. It's only like 2 to 3 ingredients. It's like 3 parts peat or cocoa coir. We use peat here, and I have to have this conversation every time we do this. So let me just have this real quick. There's certain places in the world that if you live, you really want to stay away from using peat in your garden. Europe, England, everywhere over there has a peat shortage. It's been used for thousands of years to heat people's homes. And in the last, 100 years for gardening. The peat bogs in Europe are disappearing at an alarming rate. Now, if you are in North America, United States, Canada, we get our peat from Canada. And the peat bogs up there are so enormous. And the amount that is taken every year is a specific amount that is managed very carefully. And the amount that is taken every year is actually less than what the peat bogs produce every year. Therefore, by definition, is sustainable, at least at this point. So anyway, 2 parts peat or cocoa coir and 1 part perlite. And I also sprinkle a healthy amount of Neptune's Harvest kelp meal for some extra nitrogen and potassium. And that'll help get the seedlings off to a good start. If you're gonna be like growing them for a very short time and plucking them out and planting them or potting them up or whatever, you don't really need to worry about that. But if they might be in there for 6 to 8 weeks, that's good to have. And this potting mix is pre-moistened. I want it to be moist, but only a couple of water drips should drip out of it. It shouldn't be just totally wet. It should be kind of like a wrung out sponge. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is fill up these just regular seed trays with stock. And I've got apricot and Cat's Bright Rose. Both of these I got from Eden Brothers. All right, so these are tiny seeds, so just gonna surface sow them. All right, in these, I'm going to be growing violas, and they're called Antique Laeta, or that's what they're called. And the seeds of these are really tiny as well, so we're going to surface sow those. And these are going to go in the pots up the path to the cottage, and I'm going to have some daffodils growing with them in those pots. All right, in this one, we're planting pink bachelor buttons, nodding catchfly seeds, lunaria, valerian, and catmint grand view. So I'm gonna do 2 of these with the bachelor buttons. And in case you hadn't figured out, these are all for the cottage garden. I might sow these thickly and then kind of prick them out and plant them directly into their own spots. All right, so this first one here is from Greenstock. It's their new seed starting set. And what I love about this is it's got this nice sturdy base so that you can water these, but then when you want to dump out that extra water because you don't want them sitting in water, there's just a handle. You just pick it up, dump it out, good to go. I'm leaving these seed packets in here only temporary. I'm going to put actual labels in here. They also come with humidity domes, and what I love about Greenstock is they never do anything halfway. Everything they do is sturdy. I probably couldn't stand on it, but almost. And these actually clip in, which I'm not going to worry about right now, but there are little clips so that they could even clip in here and be totally sturdy. But it's good to keep the humidity in so that the soil doesn't dry out while they're trying to germinate. So there you go. Yeah, I kind of like that a lot. That was pretty easy. All right, I'm running out of sunlight, but I got the project done. Let's go say hi to Bella, see if we can get some nighttime zoomies. Bella. Hi. All right, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. All right, I will see you guys next time.